Hi everyone! So today I'm going to be doing a historical romance marriage of convenience recommendations. I'm super excited to share these with you. Some of these are my all-time favorite historical romances, so let's get right into it. So the first book I want to share with you is Then Came You by Lisa Kleypas. So this is one of her older novels. I think she wrote it maybe early 90s, late 80s. I can't really remember. But this one is about a girl named Lily. And Lily is kind of this free-spirited woman in high society, London high society, and she just kind of doesn't care about what people think of her. And so she meets this guy who's very well put together, and he is just like, that woman is crazy. Like, what is going on with her? She is like going off the rails, kind of thing, and they kind of start having a relationship, and it's hilarious. Lily is so funny. She just like doesn't care, and she likes to push the hero's buttons, which I really loved and thought was so funny. The marriage of convenience aspect is kind of towards the end of the book, where they have to get, married because of something. But he falls first for her, and I just loved that about this book, because I feel like in older historicals, you don't really see that. You see, like, the woman fall first, so I just really love that about this book. The next one is another Lisa Kleypas, and that's Devil in Winter. So this kind of whole series has a lot of marriage of convenience books, but Devil in Winter is the third book in the series, and this follows our heroine who, her family is just like horrible to her, and they're really trying to marry her off to somebody, specifically like her gross, creepy cousin. And so she meets this guy named Sebastian, and he is kind of known as this like rake and kind of like a bad guy, kind of like he did something bad in the second book to the heroine in that book. But anyways, he's kind of like the outcast, kind of weird, but like a bad guy, and so she proposes to him, can we get a marriage of convenience to get away from my uncle, and I will like help you with like money and stuff, because her father owns this like club. And so he's like, yes, I'll marry you. But then they start having a relationship, a romantic one, and it's so cute. Our heroine is very shy, and he is kind of bold, but like he knows her for her, and like really is patient with her, and he's like so protective over her with her like family, and how they're like trying to like get the club from her, from like her father's club. It's so good. I love this whole series. I recommend reading it in order, but you don't have to. The next series of books I want to share with you, probably a lot of you know, is Bridgerton. The like first two books have marriage of conveniences. I think my favorite out of the two is the second one, which is Kate and Anthony. And Kate is trying to marry off her sister. She doesn't really want to get married herself. And Anthony kind of sets his sights on her sister, and she's like, no way, you're a known rake, you're a baddie. And she is just like, you're not gonna marry my sister. And he has to get the approval of Kate to marry her sister. But then they end up falling in love with each other and having kind of a romance. It's hate to love. It is so fantastic. There's some really funny scenes in this book with Kate and her corgi, and just Anthony finds her so infuriating, and she finds him infuriating too, but it's just like, so it gives you like a giddy feeling. You're just like, oh my gosh, just get these two together. It's very angsty, I feel like, and I love this book. And something happens where they're in a compromising situation where they have to be marriage of convenience to each other. So I love that book. The next one I want to share with you is a novella, and that's Captain's Midwinter Bride. So this one is with an older heroine and hero, and they're already married, but they were marriage of convenience to each other. And so the hero comes back from being, he's like a captain, and he comes back from being on his ship for like a really long time, and kind of realizes that he's kind of fallen out of love with his wife. And they're not as like passionate, and into their relationship as they once were. So he kind of has to show her that he still loves her and wants her, and it's really good. It felt very angsty because she was like, well, I feel like we're not working together as a couple, and he's like, let me prove it to you. And I just really like this book. It's short. It's so good though. I think it's on KU, so you can read it on Kindle Unlimited, but I just love this book. The next one is Tet Me at Twilight by Lisa Kleypas. A lot of Lisa Kleypas on here, but I love her. This one is actually in a series, and you could definitely read it out of order, but our heroine, she is so funny. She is she's like staying at this hotel, and her sister like loses this animal, and she has to go find it, and she bumps into this very handsome man, and he's instantly like intrigued by her, and he's like, this is gonna be my wife, which she doesn't know at the time, and she has been like writing letters to this other guy, basically thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get married to this guy. She doesn't, because the hero puts him in a compromising position to where she has to marry him, and it's so good. She is so mad at him because she thought she really loved that other guy, but she's slowly falling in love with him and having feelings for him, and he's like, yes, and she's like, no, I don't want this to happen, kind of thing. But I just adored this book. I thought it was so good. The chemistry between the two, kind of hate to love. She kind of like hate herself for having feelings for him, which I just loved. Such a good book. Also, just this series is so good. The next one I want to share with you is Night Song by Beverly Jenkins. So this is my first Beverly Jenkins book, and it's actually her first book I think she ever wrote. And this one, our heroine is a school teacher, and this guy comes in town, and he is like a part of the army, I think. And something happens where I think there's a trigger warning for lynching. Her grandfather gets murdered by somebody in the army. This is during like the Civil War. And ever since then, she's like hated army men, don't want to go near them. And so she meets him, and he's very persistent on like having a relationship with her. And they end up having, you know, doing the dirty, and I think they find like they get compromised and somebody finds out, and so they have to get married to each other, and she's like, I don't want to marry you, like totally against it. But then once they're married and they have to like be together, she slowly starts falling for him, and it's just so good. And she tells from her like whole story of why she doesn't like army men. And I don't really quite remember this super well because I read it like 2 years ago, but I just remember loving it. There was some action towards the end, I remember, but I think it's a great book to start off with for Beverly Jenkins. I really enjoyed it as my first book from her, so I definitely go check it out. The next one I want to talk about is This Earl of Mine by Kate Bateman. So this one's a super fun one, a super fun plot. So our heroine, she has to marry someone so she can keep like her fortune, and so she decides to go to a prison and just find a random guy to marry that she knows is gonna like die or, you know, is sentenced to death. But what she doesn't know is the guy that she picks actually is undercover in the jail, the prison, and he's not gonna like die the next day. So she like marries him and goes off on her own, and she's like, I'll give you money, blah blah blah, but she knows he's gonna die. And then she's at this like party, this ball, and she sees him, and she realizes, oh my gosh, this guy is in high society. And she's kind of like freaking out because she's like, well, he can take my money now. And so they start meeting together, trying to formulate a plan of like how to get out of this. They're going to get a divorce, but then she starts helping him figure out like this case that he's on. That's why he was in prison. He's trying to figure out like, I don't know if it's like money laundering or something with like a murder, I don't know, I can't remember, but I remember really enjoying this and like the action and mystery of trying to figure out what this like case was that he was working on, and them slowly falling in love because they're working on the case together, and she's realizing like I actually might really love him. It was just so fun. I really like Kate Bateman. Definitely go check this out. So the next book I want to talk about is The Secret by Julie Garwood. This is my first Julie Garwood. My memory on this is a little fuzzy, but I think what happens is our heroine's best friend is about to give birth, and she's like, I have to go see her. And the heroine's best friend is married to somebody who's Scottish and in like a clan or something, and so the heroine has to go visit her, but then the laird of the clan is like, you can't visit her, I think, and then they go on like a travel trip to go to the clan and meet her best friend and help her with her birth. And they start falling in love on like the travel there, and it's like a travel historical romance. It's super fun, and I love the aspect of helping her best friend give birth because she knew a lot of like really cool stuff about like midwife stuff and helping like giving birth in like the olden times. But I really enjoyed it. I love Scottish romances. I think there was like a little action in this. I can't quite recall, but I remember really enjoying it, so definitely go check it out. And then the last two books are in the series with Devil in Winter, and that's Scandal in Spring and Happen One Autumn. Happen One Autumn is a hate to love romance, and it's so funny. It's also by Lisa Kleypas, and our heroine gets this like love potion, and she accidentally gives it to the hero, and he starts having like feelings for her, and she's like, oh my gosh, did this love potion work? And she actually like hates him, but he like hits her too, but kind of realizes like she's like cool and he likes her. And it's at this like, they're staying at his estate for this big party, and there's all these people, and they have all these funny instances, like they're playing what's the game? No, not badminton. I can't remember what it's called when you have like the club. It's not golf. It's like, and you hit things through the like the little loop thing with the ball. Anyways, they're playing different games together. It's just really funny. And he's like starting to be like, oh my gosh, I want her to be my wife, and he has to like prove her to his family. She's actually an American heiress, so he's like, my family's not going to accept her because she's American. And it's just really fun, and that's one of my favorite heroines in that series. She's just so funny, and I love her like free spirit and how she's like, I know I'm an American, but I can impress you guys, and I loved it. And then Scandal in Spring is, I think, when the heroine needs to get married really badly. Like her dad is like, if you don't find somebody by this time, I'm gonna marry you off to her arch nemesis from when she was younger. But he's actually not her arch nemesis. She just thought he hated her and she didn't like him. And he comes back in the picture, and he's like, I don't want to marry you. I don't want to marry you, but your father's pushing this. But then they start slowly falling in love. But then he's like, I can't marry you because there's like this secret reason why. And this is the last book in the series, and I thought it was just really funny. And the whole point of this whole series, it's like the Wallflower series, and the girls made a pact where they'll help each other find husbands, and it's just such a fun series. I really love Lisa Kleypas' writing. But that is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I love Marriage of Convenience and historical romances especially. I just think they're so much fun and bring a lot of angst and heat to those books. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.